away for a minute, so I'm just going to mute.
Okay. Brian is coming in. Oh, we're getting a nice crowd here. Are you there? Ian?
Hello.
Oh, hi, Ian.
Oh, Cale.
What's life over at your side of the pond?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, good,
That's
good.
very well, thank you. Yeah.
All right. I'm happy that you could join us.
Yes, well, so am I.
Ian is from the other side of the pond, from the UK.
Yeah, joining us at midnight.
Yeah, you're late.
Yes. I'm not sure how long I'm going to be able to stay, I'm afraid, because my son is here and going early in the morning. We'll see.
Greetings, Ian. How are you?
Hello. Hello. How are you? Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Long time no see.
Yeah, actually it is. I can't even remember when we had the last Zoom meeting.
It's been a while.
It was a very long time, yes.
Yeah.
And it's going to disappear because I've got something wrong with my video.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm trying to do.
We can see you okay.
Yes, no, it's where I am. I've got to try and reduce my size or something. I'm too big in the frame.
A nice pony. We still got a couple of more minutes. All right. If you guys can hear me, I just want to say, don't forget to send me some pictures for the newsletter, and our monthly challenge is abstracts. Okay, I'm sure that everyone has got one or two. That's all I need. You can send me 3.
What is the monthly challenge?
Abstract photography.
Abstract.
Okay. Abstract.
You should be good. You should be good at that.
Got it.
You should be very good at that.
So it looks like we're getting more people to join. So my plan is to just introduce Bert and let him do his program, and then we'll have our meeting after that. So if people could stay on afterwards, it's going to be quick. I won't drag it out. I don't know what time it'll be, but if you could stay on just for a couple of announcements, that would be good.
Great.
Hey, Laszlo, if you could make me co-host.
All right. Yeah, of course. Thanks for reminding me. Okay, sure.
So I still see people joining, so can we wait maybe 1 to 2 more minutes and then we'll get started?
Yeah. Okay.
I know it sometimes takes people a little time to get set up and get the audio and video and all that working.
Okay, participants, stop video, shares. Oh, I haven't done this one for a while now. I'm not remembering. Chat, share screen, summary, quiz, reaction, application, whiteboards, notes, more. I know that there is a section somewhere where to share it.
Oh, if you're trying to make me a co-host, I am co-host. I'm good.
Okay.
Right,
Did I make you a
joining?
co-host? Okay.
He said he was a co-host, Laszlo.
Okay, all right.
We still got some people connecting. I can see them trying to connect audio, so let's wait a minute.
It's Bert.
Why you got Bert up there?
I have no
Yeah,
idea.
but I cannot get on the screen. I have no idea how that, but can you hear me?
We are really good with this.
Not only could we hear you, Bert, we could count the nose hairs you have.
Okay,
Okay.
good.
Not anymore, but.
All right.
Okay. Well,
All right, so I think we should get started and not make our guest speaker wait anymore. So it's 3 minutes after 7. I still see some people joining, but so just a couple of rules. One is put yourself on mute unless you want to ask a question so that we don't have to deal with the background noises. If you could do that, that would be helpful. And then I'm going to let Bert do his program, and then we're going to have our meeting afterwards. It won't last too long. I just have a couple of things to go over, but if you could stay on afterwards for maybe 10 minutes or so, and then an open discussion if anybody has anything they want to bring up, please do that as opposed to just dropping off quickly after the presentation. And so our guest speaker for this month is Bert Sirkin, and he's done a number of presentations with us in the past, and they've been very well received. So we invited him back. His topic tonight is AI and the impact on AI in photography. So we all have heard that term probably many times in the news, and it's going to affect our lives in many ways we didn't even imagine, but it affects our photography as well. So he's going to do that presentation. Bert's been a professional photographer and an educator for over 40 years. He's based out of West Hartford, and he has a knack for teaching photography and putting things in very plain, simple English, easy terms for us to understand. So again, we welcome you, Bert, and I'll turn it over to you and let you proceed.
Okay, thank you, Don. If nothing else tonight, I hope to give you a lot of information to think about because I suspect your brains will be spinning after this presentation. There's a lot of material, so let's get started. Okay, so this is my robot. We're going to talk about robots in a second, but let's move on here. Okay, so tonight I'm talking about how artificial intelligence is impacting photography, and there is a definite impact to it, and it's going to be dramatically changing what we do as photographers. All of the images in this presentation, or at least most of them, were created with the Midjourney AI tool, generative AI tool, including this image that's coming up now. This is an image that I created to kind of look like me, and it kind of looks like me a little bit. But what I want you to see here is at the very bottom left corner, there is some text. It says, man with a white beard making art with his computer, paint splatter, colorful background, --AR 16:5. This is called a prompt, and this is the prompt that actually created this image. Every image that was created with Midjourney will have its prompt associated with it, so you'll be able to see what created these images. So I want to talk about robots, and the first thing that most of us do is assume a robot has a humanoid look, and robots don't always have humanoid looks. Very often, a robot is nothing more than a computer prompt. And most robots, as a matter of fact, are just computer prompts. So we have to kind of broaden our viewpoint of what a robot is. So we're going to talk about how did we get to where we are, what AI is. We'll talk about what we have as AI in photography today, We'll talk about text to image, generative AI. We'll talk specifically about the Midjourney tool. We'll talk about Photoshop generative fill and expand. We'll talk about some other AI editing tools available to us and some other AI tools that are available in photography, not necessarily for editing. We'll give you some things to think about. Hopefully you're going to leave here with a lot of things to think about. And I'll make some predictions for the future. And there's an appendix. In the appendix, I have my contact information. Don will be sending out a link to the PDF with all of these slides, so you'll have all my contact information. So the first topic is, where are we and how did we get here? Well, we're in a different landscape than we've ever been in. This is an AI landscape. But the interesting thing about this landscape is that we've been here before. History repeats itself, and it's repeated itself many times, and it's repeating itself now. So things aren't so different now than they were literally 100 years ago. Photography was basically invented in the 1800s. In 1822, a French photographer, or French inventor, we didn't have the term photographer then, created the first successful permanent photograph. It was created on pewter. The exposure time was somewhere between 8 and 13 hours. It was taken with a camera obscura. And this is the image. This is the very first photograph printed. Photography was basically considered cheating. The art community, and this isn't an exaggeration, hated photography. They hated cameras, they hated photographers. It wasn't very well regarded until sometime in the 1920s or so. This image was taken by Alfred Stieglitz. Ambrose Bierce, this is a quote from him, around 1905, said, "A photograph is a picture painted by the sun without instruction in art." In other words, there is no art in photography. More to the point, Joseph Pannell in 1897 said, "Cameras are abhorrent and a cheat to the art community." So photography didn't start off on the best leg, at least in the art community. But this image by Alfred Stieglitz was one of the images that started the art community to kind of look at photography as more than just a toy. However, last month, there was an international festival, a very renowned festival, and in it they had a AI photography contest. And this is a quote from an Australian photographer. "This isn't photography. Associating AI with a photography festival is incredibly disrespectful to photography and to photographers." Not much different than the early 1900s. History does repeat itself. So we're kind of in that situation right now. We've made it through 3 industrial revolutions. The last one, the 3rd industrial revolution, was semiconductors, computers, and the internet. And most of us have lived through that. And we've seen the disruption that it caused. Each one of these industrial revolutions created disruptions, but we've lived through them. We're now living through the 4th industrial revolution. Artificial intelligence, cyber physical systems is the 4th industrial revolution.
No, it's about 2 hours.
I guess maybe somebody could mute themselves. The 4th industrial revolution is another industrial revolution that will cause disruption, just the way the others have. So what is AI? Well, artificial intelligence, first of all, let's talk about what artificial intelligence isn't. There's been a lot of strange talk by some strange scientists that have basically said it's going to be the end of humanity. So first of all, AI is not going to be the destructor of humanity. This is a picture of Gozer the Destructor from Ghostbusters. I don't know if there are any Ghostbuster fans out there. By the way, if you have questions or comments, feel free to say them, during the presentation. Interrupt me if you must. No problem. So this is a picture I created in Midjourney of goes through the destructor, but AI is not going to be that. What AI is going to be is something much nicer. We're going to actually like AI. It will be disruptive, just as the first 3 industrial revolutions were, but it's not going to be the destructor of humanity. What AI also isn't is it's not intelligence. The name intelligence is right in the name, artificial intelligence, but it's not intelligence. It's just well trained. AI has no common sense, and it's not always right. Very often it's not right. So artificial intelligence is basically a machine's ability to perform cognitive functions that we normally associate with human beings. There's 2 kinds of artificial intelligence. There's the traditional or predictive AI, which basically uses data patterns to make predictions. Literally, when you type something into ChatGPT, a question, and it starts poking out one word at a time, it's basically predicting each word as it goes. It doesn't have the whole answer at once. It just figures out the answer as it goes along. It's predicting. And then there's generative AI. Generative AI creates output. And this is what we use to create images from text prompts. The first artificial neuron was actually designed in the 1940s. We actually knew how to do this in the 1940s, but we didn't have the computing power or the data. Data was a big thing. But since 2018, there's been a convergence of innovations. The first one was called the Transformers model. And this basically allowed computers to understand language like a human. The second was the diffusion model. And basically this is used in photography for denoising, creating images from scratch, in painting, which Photoshop calls generative fill, and out painting, which Photoshop calls generative expand. Large language models. You've probably heard the term LLM. An LLM is basically used to convert user input into something machine readable. LLMs are basically algorithms. They're formulas that we train on huge amounts of data. And what the LLMs learn is the connections between words. So if we look at that little chart at the bottom right, we see the word cat, and we see cat is related to dog. There's a relationship. There's a relationship between cat and kitten. There's a relationship between cat and rabbit. There's a relationship between, well, I guess that's all the cat ones. But we have kitten is related to puppy. Each one of these is weighted inside the LLM. GPT-4, ChatGPT, has 1.7 trillion of these relationships. When we talk massive amounts of data, we're talking unfathomable amounts of data. So we learned how to build an LLM in the 1940s, but we didn't actually build one until 2018. So the question is, how does an LLM work? So when you type a question into ChatGPT and it gives you an answer, the question is, how does it do it? And the answer may surprise you. No one on earth fully understands the inner workings of an LLM. We have no idea. My favorite quote on it was, let's talk about what a large language model is. One way to think about it is that about 3 years ago, aliens landed on Earth, they handed over a USB stick, and then disappeared. We have no idea how it works. We have no idea how these LLMs come up with the answers or the images that they do. So let's talk about artificial intelligence in photography. Well, some of it's been here for a while. We've had some for a while. These items are in camera AI. We have object recognition and tracking, scene recognition and auto settings adjustments, image enhancement and post-processing, facial recognition. All of these things have been in your camera. If you have a camera that's fairly recent, you probably have most of these things in your camera today. So these aren't new. They're typically new since 2018, although some of them actually predate that. Editing tools, we have a ton of them now. Photoshop has neural filters. They've had neural filters for 4 or 5 years, but at least 4 years now. And neural filters are artificial intelligence. And it's funny how they've avoided most users. Most users aren't even aware of them, but they're in there. Generative Fill and Expand, of course, came out this year, came out of beta and came into the full product this year. Adobe Firefly is what powers Adobe Photoshop artificial intelligence. Adobe Firefly is the basis of everything Adobe does in AI. Topaz Photo AI, Skylum, Luminar AI, Canva, Pixlr, Lensa, there's a whole bunch of them. So when we take natural language processing, and that is being able to take a sentence that we type in and actually translate it so a computer can understand it, that's what the LLM does, and we combine it with generative AI, which is the diffusion model that I talked about a few minutes ago, we can actually create images from a text prompt. So if we give a generative AI tool a prompt like this, portrait of a coal miner in a coal mine, it can generate an image like this or like this. We get images. Now, when you look at these images, the first thing to understand is that there's a man in each picture. That man does not exist. There is no such person like this or ever has been like this. These images, these people were made from scratch, from nothing, literally made from pixels. And I'm going to show you how that's done in a second. So some of the text-to-image editing tools we have to create generative images, to create images from text, this is a small list. And I can tell you that there's 1 or 2 comes out every week. There's a ton of them out there now. But most of them, a lot of them are based on ones that already exist. And I'm going to tell you what the good ones are. So let's talk about text-to-image or generative AI. What generative AI is all about is imagination. If you've never thought about it, imagination is actually part of the photography process. So generative AI actually melds very closely with photography in that way. So generative AI is all about imagination because literally you have to imagine the picture before you create it. Pablo Picasso said, everything you can imagine is real. Albert Einstein, more to the point, said, logic will get you from A to B, but imagination will take you everywhere. We've been doing A to B with our cameras. Now we can go everywhere with generative AI. So if we define imagination, imagination is the ability to form images in your mind of something that doesn't exist. Or maybe it does exist, but you can create it any way you want. Creativity is the ability to turn imaginative ideas into something real. Generative AI is all about imagination, and photography is all about creativity. The two work very closely. Now, this is an image that I imagined. Now, I couldn't have taken this with a camera because it doesn't exist. But I imagined it, and I was able to create it. And you can see the prompt underneath, tree shaped like man, surreal. Very simple. So a couple of facts about generative AI. The first one is text-to-image models are trained on real images, including yours. If you've ever submitted to a Camera Club, to a photo contest online, to Instagram or to Facebook, your images were used to train these models. Once trained, however, the images that get created are created from what was learned, not from the images themselves. So that picture of a coal miner in a coal mine wasn't created from any single image. It was created from what the LLM learned. So generative AI basically creates images the same way you do. Assuming you have any art skills whatsoever, I'm not sure I could do what I'm going to show you now. But if you would think about a cat, what a cat looks like, you can imagine a cat in your mind. And if I asked you to draw the cat, you could probably draw something like this, which would be a lot better than I could do. But that's exactly the way generative AI works. Generative AI has been trained on pictures of cats. And it can draw a cat based on the training, not on any specific picture that it has of a cat. It just does it based on what it's learned. So the way these tools work is they use something called diffusion. And diffusion, the diffusion model is responsible for creating generative AI images. So basically what we do is we create a text prompt and we input it to a large language model, an LLM. And the LLM then creates a latent representation. In other words, it creates something that a computer can understand. And it feeds that to the diffusion model. The diffusion model goes back and forth between it and something called a discriminator and fine-tuning the image until it creates the output image, which is what you end up seeing. So basically, diffusion always starts with total random noise. So if we look at the image at the very top, the prompt that created this in the stable diffusion tool was anthropomorphic owl warrior. And what you see at the bottom is random noise. And this is the way that image started off. And I'm going to show you how it actually developed. It's really not a whole lot different than when you, in the old days, when you took a picture out of the paper off the enlarger and you put it in the developer and you got to see it come out. It's basically what's happening here. And you can see that random noise pattern diffusing by rearranging the pixels until the image is developed. So that is the process, by the way, all of these images get created. The diffusion basically is based on the prompt, the text prompt, and the trained images. So let's start off looking at a picture. So here's a picture, and I want you to look at this, and I want you to tell me if this is AI or a real image, a camera shot image. Unmute yourself and just yell out whatever you think.
Real.
Anybody
I'll
else?
go with real.
Real.
Anybody else?
I can't tell. It could be either real or fake. I have seen very good generative AI images, and that could be one of them.
Okay. Well, we only got about 3 or 4 answers here, but I will tell you I've given this presentation, I don't know, 30, 40 times now. Almost everybody thinks it's real. It is not. This is a generative AI image. It was created with the prompt, black and white photograph of a hat with flowing ribbon laying in a field of wildflowers. As Laszlo said, AI is getting very good at creating realistic looking images. Now, the thing is, if I were to give this prompt multiple times, each time I would get a different image. And as you can see by the number here, let's see if I can get my pen working here. There's 4,294,967 and 295 different images Midjourney could create from one prompt. Mind-boggling. But these are some of the images that got created when I used this prompt with Midjourney. So let's look at some other images. I broke them up into categories, and the first one's landscapes. And the first image we're going to look at is an image from the Everglades. And if you look at the prompt, you're going to see some interesting things here. Photorealistic. Well, that's pretty self-explanatory. Everglades National Park, cypress trees, low fog. And after low fog, there's a : 0.5. I'm going to explain that in a second. Great blue heron, : 1.1. Dusk. Side light, wide angle, peaceful, reflections, -- AR 9:5 -- style raw. Well, this is a prompt. The : descriptors like low fog : 0.5. The default weight, that's a weighting, and the default weight is 1.0. So if I give it a 0.5, I'm saying I don't want low fog to be very impactful in this image. If I give a great blue heron 1.1, I say I want it to be more impactful than it would normally be. The : AR 9:5 is an aspect ratio, 9:5 aspect ratio. And style raw has nothing to do with RAW or JPEG. It just basically tells Midjourney that I want this image to be more photographic than creative. And this is some of the data that we can put into our prompts and change them. So the next one is a drone image. Drone photography of Yellowstone Grand Prismatic Pool, high detail, bright colors. We can take drone images. This is a landscape, mountain landscape photography, expansive, awe-inspiring, breathtaking. You can read the rest. Aspect ratio of 3:2. And if you look at the lighting is very realistic. You can tell the lighting is coming from the left. All the shadows are on the right side of objects. Midjourney is an incredible tool for creating photorealistic images. Some wildlife images. This is a really, really simple prompt, a baby bear in a tree. Very realistic looking. You'd have a hard time telling if this was real or AI. This next one would be really hard to take, but it's really easy with AI. It's a red-tailed hawk, forest, low angle action. This would be really hard to set up and take this image so close to a hawk. But we can do it in AI. AI gives us opportunities we could never have in traditional photography. In this prompt, 8K does not mean resolution. What 8K means is detail, a lot of detail. Just tells it's just a specific prompt you use with Midjourney to tell it you want a lot of detail. Portraits. You can't do a portrait of anybody. You can do portraits of well-known people, celebrities, sports figures, but you want to do a portrait of a person they're not a celebrity, you're not going to be able to do it. But here are some portraits that I created. Basically a grim fireman in uniform, head and shoulders portrait, high detail, building on fire in the background, harsh lighting. If you want a more of a studio portrait, you can do something like this. Headshot portrait of a young girl, Rembrandt lighting, studio. Midjourney knows tons of art and photography terms. You can specify the aperture, the shutter speed, which lens, which model camera. It's kind of astounding. As I mentioned, you can do celebrities. So I did a portrait of Morgan Freeman as a cowboy. You can do macro and close-up. There's literally nothing you can't do. A micro photo of a termite. A close-up photo of a cluster of ripe sweet grapes after rain, vineyard, sunlit, sun backlit, translucent. We get the glare that you would get with a traditional photography with a backlit subject. You get we've got a little loss of sharpness up here like you would if it was backlit in the translucence. The drop of water with a highlight in it from the sun, very realistic. Food. Pretty detailed looking burger. I used the Hasselblad H6D to shoot this with. I don't have one of those, but doesn't matter. You can also shoot in this style of, so everybody knows the National Geographic image that Steve McCurry took of the Afghanistani woman. I created this in that style. I said photo of a Middle Eastern woman with a headscarf looking into the camera, soft light, mountains in the background, smoky background in the style of Steve McCurry. In the style of Van Geddes. This may be better than anything she did. In the style of William Wegman. You can also do in the style of artists. You can do in-camera effects. For instance, you can do tilt shift.
Hello?
You can do panning. I've shot this many times in New York in Times Square. I created this because I've taken pictures just like this one, but this one came out better probably than any of the ones I did. Intentional camera movement. And you don't always get what you want. In this case, I said 2 blurred trees, but you can see I got more than 2. My wife liked this so much that this is actually hanging in her office right now. You can do non-photo type things. The first one I'll show you is a tile. You can create symmetrical tiles. So if you look at this tile, the left side of the tile matches up with the right side. The top matches up with the bottom. It's perfectly symmetrical. And the prompt I used was right here. White carnation pattern -- tile. That tells Midjourney I want something symmetrical. And if you look at the background of this, right here, the background is this tile in a matrix. And then I kind of desaturated it and made it lighter just so it wouldn't overtake the foreground. Logos and icons. I changed my logo. My logo used to be a stick logo of a heron, and I changed it to the logo on the left because I like this better. But you can create logos and icons really easily with tools like Midjourney. You can create art. This is in the style of Pablo Picasso. If you didn't know better, you'd think this was a Picasso. But I created it, a crowded city by the sea, in the style of Pablo Picasso. Surreal. You can create all kinds of surreal images. A tree shaped like a woman, desert background, magical, surreal. So, text to image brings about some new questions, doesn't it? We have photography and we have digital art. Photography always starts with a camera taken image. Digital art is solely created without a camera, with a computer. So what happens if we combine photography with digital art? Can we still call it photography? And if so, does it have to be 80% shot, camera shot, 50% in the camera, 20%? How many pixels have to be from the camera in order for it to be called photography? There is no clear answer to this, is there? You know, if you've ever used content-aware fill, if you ever used a remove tool, if you ever removed a stick from a picture, from a landscape, you are combining digital art with photography. We've been doing this for years with Photoshop. The U.S. Copyright Office said AI-generated works aren't eligible for copyright due to the lack of human authorship. This will change. Okay, as a matter of fact, if some of you are aware, well, I'll tell you in a second. If you quote a human, alive or dead, or a place name in a prompt, you can't legally use it commercially. So if I created a picture of Everglades National Park and I use Everglades National Park in the prompt, I cannot use that image commercially. There are numerous lawsuits you may have read in the news about numerous artists and authors suing OpenAI, Meta, and a few other companies. Well, today, there was, and it just happened literally today, there was an interesting decision by, let's see, I want to get the name right here. It was a U.S. district judge, a federal judge, Vince Chabria. He said, quote, "There is no way to understand that the llama," I'll explain what that is in a minute, "models themselves as a recasting or adaptation of any of the plaintiff's books." Basically, what he's saying is the large language model, Llama is Meta's large language model. What he's saying is that you can't say that just because it used your book or your image to create something else, that they're violating copyright. So the laws will change. They are changing today. Whoops, let me go back to that last one. Legal frameworks always lag technology. This is something that always happens, and pretty soon we'll have some real decisions coming down. So here's a real image. I took this image in New Mexico, and I decided to describe it in terms of a prompt. And here's how I did it. I basically said this is a centered road leading to green and pale red Rocky Mountains in a green desert. Very simple. And I fed this to a variety of tools. And here are the outputs that each of the tools created. The camera image is at the top left, and you can see I did it in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different tools. They all are pretty good, some better than others. But basically, they created what I described pretty accurately. However, these tools do have their issues. There are some big issues. Hands, feet, text. Those are the kryptonites of the text-to-image generators. So here are 4 hands. Basically, I gave 4 different tools a prompt, a hand holding a pen. Pretty simple. And this is what I got. DALL-E version 2 at the top left gave me the worst one. DALL-E version 3 is a lot better. These tools are all getting better. Midjourney looks good at first, but till you notice there's only 4 fingers. And Leonardo, I don't even want to think what that is. I'm not sure what that is. But they all have problems with hands and feet. So here I gave another prompt for text. Random cute 3D animals surrounded by the word critters. DALL-E version 2, pretty bad. DALL-E version 3, not bad, missing a letter. Midjourney, the image is better than the other two, but the text is all wrong. And Ideogram AI, which is a fairly new tool, actually was designed to do text properly. And it actually did a really, really good job on this. The next version of Midjourney will be doing text, which is will be out very shortly. One thing to be aware of is that all of these tools create small images. Crayon, which is ridiculous at a 0.06 megapixel, and it goes up to Firefly and Photoshop, which goes up to 1 megapixel. DALL-E 3 goes up to 1.8 megapixels, but Midjourney now can go up to 4 megapixels. And these numbers will get larger as time evolves. And if not, you can always use a third-party product to upscale your image. I use Topaz Photo AI, and it does a remarkable job at improving the Midjourney images that I create. So let's talk about Midjourney specifically. Midjourney is my absolute favorite tool. And if there, as I showed you, there are quite a few different tools around. They all do something well. What Midjourney does well is photorealistic images. So for photography, from a photography standpoint, Midjourney is the premier tool right now. It was basically trained with images from the Discord community. You may have heard of Discord. You may use Discord. You may have heard it in the news. There was a nasty incident with, I think it was a sailor that put top secret information out there on Discord. But Discord basically is a series of servers, thousands and thousands of different servers. And each server is independent. It's just sort of a place for people to get together and people to create communities. The image, so basically, Midjourney took all the images from Discord that it could find and trained its LLM on those images. Image generation is done through Discord. So if you want to create this images today with Midjourney, you have to have a Discord account, it's free. However, pretty soon, Midjourney's website will allow images to be created just from the website. It's something they've been wanting to do for a long time. And right now, there's a prompt at the top of their site that says, imagine, and it says coming soon. And they're going to have it pretty soon from the website. But right now, you have to do it through Discord. I'll show you how Discord works. It's pretty simple. But there's a quick start in Midjourney that tells you how to get started. Discord is free, but Midjourney does charge. They charge $8 a month or $10 a month, depending on whether you pay monthly or actually annually or monthly. So if you pay monthly, it's $10. If you just want to join it for 1 month, you can do that, and it'll cost you $10. That plan gives you 3.3 hours of GPU time, which is about between 200 and 250 images you can generate in a month. So this is the way Discord works. We're going to create a prompt. And in this case, the prompt is a handsome man in tuxedo in the style of James Bond, Art Deco, smooth and polished. And we first type the word /imagine. Remember I said this is all about imagination. So we're going to imagine this. And when you type that, the word prompt comes up, and then you type the prompt in. And basically, when you put the prompt into Discord, it thinks for a second, and then it submits it to the Midjourney robot. And it says waiting to start. You can see that at the far right. And it's going to start generating. And remember, this is done in diffusion. And Midjourney shows you some of the steps along the way, not all of them, but it shows you some of them until finally we're 93. There we go. There are the images it created. It creates 4 images for you. And the images, you basically have numbers, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you have these tools at the bottom where you can upscale or create variations. So if you want to upscale image 2, you would click this button here. It would upscale it, and then you could copy it or save it. If you want to create a variation on image 2, you click that button, that image. And if you just want to do the whole thing all over again, you can do that. There's actually, so you have a lot of options here. There's other things such as in painting, which we're going to get to, but this is the basics of creating an image in Midjourney. But learning how to prompt is an art style by itself. You can't just type in something and have it know what you want. You have to understand how the LLM works to a certain extent. And basically, if you understand the LLM, you can create better prompts. And as you saw in Midjourney, there are certain other parameters that you can pass. For instance, aspect ratios. You can say, I want more weight on this word than this word, whatever. I created a Midjourney cheat sheet, and if you download the slides, you'll have this link. You don't have to write it down right now. And you can download this, and it basically guides you through creating photographs in Midjourney. These are some of the styles you could create. Every one of these that's cycling through started off with this prompt right here. And style was one of these items here. And you can see the hummingbird drinking from a flower, very simple prompt. And you can see all the different styles. And this is just a tiny, tiny sampling. And when I say tiny sampling, there may be another 500 styles you could do. I have no idea. I don't know what they know, to be honest with you. But there's tons of artistic terms and photographic terms we could use. And there's a link at the bottom that you can actually download this animation if you want from my server. Okay, just to give you an idea, the most popular tools right now are Midjourney, Firefly, which is Adobe, DALL-E, and Stable Diffusion. And I gave all of these this prompt: 1950 Dodge, vintage, high details, photorealistic, night street scene, bokeh, cinematic lights. And these are the results we got. Now, Firefly was at the very top left. The 2 images there from Firefly, neither one looks like a 1950 Dodge. The images are just okay. I wouldn't say they're, I don't like them at all. The license plate, I have no idea what this license plate is. That's really weird, but that's the license plate. Midjourney, on the other hand, really, really is photorealistic. They're really nice looking images. DALL-E version 2 created something horrible. DALL-E version 3 is much better, but it cropped it really weird. I don't know why it cropped it the way it did. Stable Diffusion actually created something much better. Stable Diffusion wasn't bad at all. But Midjourney is still by far, for my appreciation, the best of the images. So some of the other things you can do in Midjourney is you can take your own image. Doesn't have to be of you, although I did this of me. This is my picture, and I basically gave Midjourney, I uploaded this to Midjourney. I gave it a prompt. I said 8K photo, futuristic, robotic. And it transformed me into a futuristic robot. I then gave it a prompt, cartoon line drawing, and it transformed me into a cartoon line drawing. You're only limited by your imagination. You're only limited by your imagination. Here's another image, the one I showed you earlier. I had Midjourney modify this image. So I uploaded this to Midjourney and I gave it the following prompt: sunset, warm tones, cows grazing, photography, stylized 300. The stylized parameter basically says that the normal stylization is a value of 100. Stylization goes from 0 to 500. And if you go above 100, it says, I want you to stylize this more than you normally would. If you go below 100, you're saying, I want you to stylize it less. And I told her an aspect ratio of 16:9. And this is what it comes up with. Of course, it comes up with 4 different images. This is the one I like best. And I thought it did a really good job on this. But the question is, photography or digital art? Where do we draw the line? You could do in painting with Midjourney. This is what Adobe calls generative fill. So I created this image, a photo of a man walking down a path, full body, sunny summer day, bright background, 24mm lens, highly detailed, aspect ratio 16:9. And then I told it I want to vary the region of this image. Vary region is basically in painting. So we have 2 tools right down here. Just like in Photoshop, we have a marquee selector and we have a lasso. And I basically highlighted the man walking. And then I typed horse in here to replace him with a horse. And it created this image. Then I highlighted the bottom of the image and I typed in racetrack. And it created that image. So within painting, we can literally, if we don't like the results of an image, we can actually change it to something more like what we want. Now, you may not have noticed this, but if you look at the image at the bottom left, the horse only has 3 legs. It took somebody in one of my presentations to tell me this, because I didn't notice it. But remember what I said about hands and feet? Well, it applies to animals too. So let's talk about Photoshop, generative fill and expand, which is what everybody else calls in and out painting. Generative fill allows you to in paint. So we can highlight part of an image and you replace it with an AI element. Generative expand allows you to outpaint. Basically, we extend an image using the crop tool and we fill it in with an AI generated image. It works pretty well until you understand what the issues are. So here's an image I created in, this is actually created in Stable Diffusion. And I don't have the prompt for this one. It was probably man and woman walking along a beach at sunset. And I highlighted this area in Photoshop with a lasso. And I typed in walking dog. And I clicked generate. And it generates this image. So we now have a dog walking along the 2 people. That's generative fill. I then took that image and I extended it with the crop tool. I actually reduced it at the top, but extended the remaining 3 sides. And basically at that point, you just click generate and Photoshop will fill in the open areas with artificial intelligence generated images, generative AI data. And this is the image we got. Looks pretty good. Does a remarkable job. 99% of the time. Well, maybe not quite 99, but they give you options. And I'll show you what happens. I'll show you a more practical example. This is a more practical example. This is a picture I took of a common myna bird, and he was sitting in a rain gutter. And I really didn't like the rain gutter. I would like something more natural than a rain gutter, but that's where he was. And that was the picture I was able to take. So here's what I did. In Photoshop, I took my lasso tool and I highlighted the rain gutter. And it doesn't have to be a really, really exact highlight. It can be pretty rough. You notice I'm going around, his feet. You notice his tail is cut off. That's something to notice because it's going to get filled in. He's going to have a full tail when we get through. And at that point, I'm going to click Generative Fill, and then I'm going to type in tree branch. And I click Generate. And there's a progress bar at the very, very top. You can barely see it. It's going across. And all of this is done in the cloud. It's done on Adobe servers. You don't need a very heavy-duty computer to do this. Matter of fact, any phone will do this really well. And you get 3 choices. And these are the 3 choices. The middle one didn't come out too good, but the other 2 look pretty good. And if you don't like these, you can redo them. And we've removed the rain gutter, replaced it with a tree branch, and filled in his tail. So, have you ever done anything like this with content-aware fill? You probably have, if you use Photoshop. And if you have, how different is this using AI? Well, actually, content-aware fill uses AI too. But nobody really told you about that. So, again, photograph or digital art? Where are we? This will show you the full extent of what you can do with generative fill and expand. So I want to remove the car in the foreground. I highlight it with the lasso. I generate, and it basically fills in what it thinks should be there. If I want to add a different car in there, I can highlight an area with my lasso, and I can type in vintage car, and we get a vintage car. If I want to extend the image to the right, I can use generative expand, and Photoshop will expand and fill in what it thinks should be there. Now, this is pretty remarkable because, let me go back for a second. You'll notice that the only palm tree is right there, and yet it knew from that there should be palm trees, and it created palm trees. And not only did it create palm trees, but if you were to shoot this with a wide-angle lens, which obviously this would have been shot with a wide-angle lens, we have some wide-angle distortion. These trees are leaning inward, something you would expect with a wide-angle lens. Then I told it to put in a swimming pool. I highlighted an area with my lasso, put in a swimming pool, and you notice when you put in water or glass, you get reflections. And the reflections are legitimate. This is a very, very powerful feature. And if you want to remove everything but the sign, you can do that. So, scary stuff. If you haven't used this, your mind is probably spinning right now. Okay, here are the issues, and they are big ones. First of all, generative fill is currently limited to 1,024 pixels on the longest dimension. What that means is that it's not going to work with large images. You can't use it. Well, actually, I think you can use generative fill for commercial results now. I think once it came out of beta. I'm not sure, though. It doesn't always produce the result you want, but you can always redo it. It rarely produces normal hands, feet, faces, or text. And it requires cloud processing, which is actually a good thing because you don't need a fast computer to do it. Let's take a look at this image. This image is a 6100 by 5500 pixel image, 5500 pixels high. And if I extend the image to the right, as you see the white area, and I do a generative fill, it does a really, really nice job. Until you look at the detail. The area that overlaps, where we just created this area, looks like this. And that is because generative fill only uses 1,024 pixels on the longest dimension. So if your image is more than 1,024 pixels high or wide, where you're creating the expansion, it's going to have to stretch the pixels. And you end up getting results like this. So if you're doing something for the web, it looks great. If you're doing something that you're going to want to print, not so much. So that's one big issue. Another issue is hands and feet. So if we took this image and we did a generative expand at the bottom of this image, we get this, which at first glance looks pretty good until you look at the hand. And the hand is an alien hand. It's 3 fingers and a thumb. One big one in the middle. And then he has some kind of alien device here. I don't know what that is. And faces, it just does something horrible. I'll show you, you make up your own mind. I have no idea where it gets faces like that or how it creates faces like that. Adobe is in image generation, as image generation goes, it's 10% of Midjourney, but it will get better. Text, if we extend this image down, you can kind of assume that says free mug. However, when you extend it down, you get something different. Not sure what that is. And then you get, when you create something, I think I used Sidewalk Cafe as a prompt, and this is what I got in Photoshop. Really bizarre. So let's look at some other AI editing tools. My favorite, and I'll bet some of you already use it, is Topaz Photo AI. It's an adjunct to Lightroom. It's a separate product, or it's an adjunct actually to Photoshop as well. And it does some remarkable things. It does sharpening, noise reduction, image enlargement, face recovery, text recovery, light adjustment, which is in beta, and color adjustment, which is in beta. Those last 2 items don't work very well yet, but hopefully they will in the future. This is an image I took of a flower on a tree. You can see the image at the very top right. It's actually, the flower is a small part of the image, but I shot it at a really slow shutter speed on purpose to blur it. And you can see the image at the left, and you can see how it was sharpened on the right. Pretty remarkable. If you have an image that is blurred, sometimes, not always, but sometimes Photo AI does a remarkable job on it. Noise reduction, you can see the full image of, this is a lava tunnel on the left. You can see the full image, and basically this is 100% crop of the center of the image. And at the top, we have the image without noise reduction, and then doing noise reduction and sharpening in Topaz Photo AI at the bottom. This was shot at ISO 12,800 with a Nikon D850. 1/20th of a second handheld. So it sharpened it too, because it was, I'm sure there was blurring in there. Face recovery. It's a simple example, but it's a nice example. Smooths out the face a little bit, makes the face look a little bit better. And you have control within Photo AI how much you want to do. There's a whole bunch of other products. I'm not going to go into these because I don't know them, but there's lots of other AI products as well. The real power, however, comes when you combine these tools. When you combine traditional photography and AI. So you can combine your text-to-image images with camera images. So if we look at this is an image that I took. I kind of wish I took it at night. And then when I started thinking about it, I started thinking, well, you know, if it was at night, it'd be neat if there was a ghost in there. So I decided, using my imagination, to create that image. So the first thing I did was darken the image so it looked like night. I don't have a version of that, but I'll show it to you in a minute. Then I created this in Midjourney. I gave it a prompt of a photo, dark ghost with flowing robe, side view, white background. I wanted a white background because I knew I'd use the multiply blend mode in Photoshop, which basically the multiply blend mode results in dark colors only. It basically ignores white. And if I use a white background, I could just blend it right in. And this is the image that I ended up with. So you can combine your photography with text to image. Here's another image that I blended these two images. So these are two images I took. Both of them were taken in Iceland. They were taken actually really close to each other. And I wanted to combine them. Obviously, the image on the right has this taken at the blue hour. We have these pinks and blues. The image on the left was taken midday. We have a deep blue sky. The skies are completely different. We have a bright sun in one and not in the other. And obviously we have a beach in one and no beach in the other, but we have a church. When we combine it in Midjourney, it does something like this. And again, you get 4 choices. This is the one I liked best. It combined the two skies. So we have elements of the blues and the pinks in the resulting image. We have the sun. We have that rock face, but it kind of like pulled back and showed me more of it. And it put the church right on the beach. And it took all the people that were in the beach image. There's only, what, 1, 2, 3, 4 people, I think. And it created a whole bunch of them, it looks like, by the church. You can blend people. So here's that picture of myself with a picture of Jarl Borg from the History Channel show Viking. And I combined us. And if we had a brother, he might look like this. Not only combines facial features, hair, but also clothing. You can create cartoon images. So I took this image and I gave it a prompt as cartoon characters. And what I ended up with is very interesting, the way it created it. It created the subjects, the woman and the dog, as cartoon characters. But the people in the background are not cartoon characters. And not only that, but they're different people than the original image. As I said, nobody understands how these LLMs work. This is the part I like best. I kind of showed you one example of this. This is another one. You can create your own objects using AI to place in your own images. So what I did is I had this image I took in Joshua Tree at sunset, a beautiful image of sunset, but I always wish there was something walking down that path. I wish there was a person walking down the path. So I created this. 8K, high detail, man in black tuxedo in top hat, walking away, white background. And then I did a select subject in Photoshop and I deleted the background. So I just had the man. I did the same thing with a woman and gave her a red dress, white background, did a select subject, removed the background. And I combined the images, and with the man, I have the man walking down the path. I gave him a little shadow. I have the woman walking down the path. And then I figured I'd marry them off, put them together. If you think about it, you can do so much with combining generative AI with traditional photography. You guys have competitions in your club. I have no idea what your rules are, but I'd be willing to guess you don't allow things like this. But you will. Everybody will, eventually. As I said, you're doing it today with cloning. With cloning, with what's that other tool? I forgot what it's called now. I said it before. In any event, what is it?
Content aware fill.
I'm sorry, I still didn't get that.
Okay,
Content aware.
Content aware. Yes. Content aware, our remove tool, all of those. So let's look at some other AI tools that are useful in photography. The first one is my favorite. Is right now there are 3 major chat bots. The first one was ChatGPT that everybody knew about, and it's probably the most popular. Claude is another one, and Claude is probably significantly better than ChatGPT. I really like Claude. Claude.ai is the website, and it's remarkable. But Bard, Google Bard, is great for photography. So let's look at why. I recently took a trip to Manchester, Vermont, and I wanted to know what are the best places to photograph in Manchester. And this is just a small list of what it gave me. I was able to, gives you links. You can click on these links and get more information on these places. But you have all kinds of information that you can get from Google Bard about travel photography or photography in your neighborhood. You can ask Google Bard about your images, and right now it will not do people. So if there's it's a street scene and there's a person way off in the distance, it won't do it. It won't do anything with people in it. But anything else, it will. So in this case, I gave it this image and I asked, what is this? And it knows what it is. It's a little grebe, looks likely a juvenile, gave me information about it. You can get critiques of your images. In this case, I said, describe this image. This was taken on Mauna Kea in Hawaii. It's a volcano, and it knew all about it. It said the volcano is a focal point of the image. There's a sense of scale, well composed, visually striking, use of leading lines. These are photography terms. Pretty soon, we're going to be using AI to judge our contests. Oh, and it knew it was Mauna Kea. It knew it was Mauna Kea. It knew where it was taken. It can help with editing. Now, this is premature. It doesn't do a really good job on this yet, but it's going to get better. But I think you'll be amazed at what it does. So when I asked, how should I edit this image? It gave me this: overall adjustments, specific adjustments, creative adjustments. And then it gives you step-by-step in Photoshop. It says, go to image adjustments, brightness, contrast, image adjustments, white balance, use the crop tool, saturation, clarity, noise, reduce noise, vignette and filter if you want to filter a vignette. It goes into, and it's only been around about a year. Wait 3 years. You're going to be astounded at what these tools can do. Xsider is one of my favorite tools. This is something I use all the time. I don't use Lightroom, but it has a plugin for Lightroom, so it'll go right into Lightroom and integrates with Lightroom. With Photoshop, you have to use it as a standalone product. It's an AI-based photo management system. So basically, you can go in there and you basically scan your images, and it creates a database. And it basically will find anything you want based on text prompts. Costs $189. It just went up. It doubled in price. The previous version was version 2024, and I had been using that for a couple of years. And they came out with a new one, and they doubled the price, but they added a lot of features. You can search by keyword, freeform text, faces, duplicates, similar images from an extra. So you can feed it an external image, and it will find images like that in your database. So in this case, I basically gave it a freeform text, man with a wolf, because I knew I had, in this case, I have over 220,000 images in my database. But basically, there's a place in Southern California I go to visit with wolves, and it's amazing. You can get up close and personal with wolves, and they're amazing animals. But it gave me images, man with wolves. Obviously, this one is just a wolf, not a man, and there are some duplicates here. This is one may be a JPEG, one may be a RAW file. I'm not sure. We have more than a few duplicates with these images, but I very often duplicate a lot of images, different sizes and stuff. But in any event, you can basically prompt, and not only that, but then you can say, I want it filtered by year. I only want to see things that I shot in 2019 or 2020, and there are further filters also. You can do it by metadata. So you can basically say, I only want things I shot with a 100mm lens. And it'll do that. It'll also analyze your images for aesthetics. They call it aesthetics, cutesy. And it'll basically give you a score of what they think your images, how your images rate. There's an analytics piece to it that will analyze your images. You can do, for instance, I basically asked it, in this case, what did I ask it for? I guess it was in a folder. Yeah, I did it in a folder. You can actually tell it I want bird pictures, and it'll give you information. And you could search for it by, in this case, I did apertures, but you could do any EXIF information. You can search by ISO, by aperture, by shutter speed. You have location information, I think you can do that. But basically, it'll give you a chart based on the images you use as a criteria. So let's talk about things to think about. Henri Cartier-Bresson said, it's an illusion that photos are made with a camera. They're made with the eye, heart, and head. Now, he didn't imagine not using a camera. But in reality, it's our vision that creates images, not the camera. Digital camera sales are down 93% from 2010. That's a sobering thought. Down 93%. Most new photographers grow up with only a smartphone. They probably won't ever own a digital camera. Think about that. You can also gain inspiration and ideas from the text-to-image generators. So if you're going to go out and shoot pictures of, you got sleet tonight and snow, so maybe tomorrow morning there'll be snow on the ground and you want to go run out and take pictures of a snowy landscape, you can generate images with a text-to-image generator of snowy landscapes. Get ideas. Get ideas of what you want to shoot. You know, toss away what you don't like. Remember what you do like. You'll take better pictures. Chatbots, ChatGPT, Bard, Claude, these will allow you to discover facts about where you're shooting and what you're shooting. You can brainstorm with them to learn about your subject and or location. This is the first image that won a camera competition that was an AI image. In February 2023, this is a drone shot taken by an Australian woman, or created by an Australian woman, and it won a photo contest. Needless to say, the contest management was somewhat embarrassed. You've probably seen this image. This is the most popular one people have seen. This a month later, the prestigious Sony Photography Awards announced this is their creative photo entry winner. And it was created with generative AI. The originator, Boris Eldig, I'm not sure I can say that, turned down the award because he created it through DALL-E 2. He also was credited with coining the term promptographer. Ooh, that's scary. Promptographer. Somebody who creates photographs with a prompt. On the other side, this image was thrown out of a photo competition because the judges thought it was AI, but it wasn't. It's a strange image. Those are mannequins in the background. The Ballarat International Photo Biennale, he's not good at these words, is a prestigious international photography competition held last month in October. And this is the winning entry. Not sure I would have picked it, but what they picked. In any event, this was the first all AI generated image photography contest. Not the last. So, this is an image that I took. This was taken with a camera, has minimal editing. However, I went into Photoshop and I changed the sky. Did a sky replacement. So the question is this still my image? I'm sure many of you have done sky replacements. Then I went to Photoshop and I did this. I took away the fence. I added a bison. I have a different image. Is this still my image? Can anybody say definitively yes or no? What about this? These are the images I created in Photoshop. But then I went into Midjourney and I uploaded this image and I gave it ultra photorealistic, Ansel Adams style, sunrise, warm tones, and it generated this. Is this my image? At what point does this not become my image? We're going back and forth between digital photography and traditional photography. We've always created fake images. As photographers, everything we do is fake. Depth of field doesn't exist. Dodging and burning in the darkroom, double exposures, airbrushing, everything we do in Photoshop. But in all those cases, everything started with a single image created by a single creator. Now your image may contain a derivation of an image you didn't create. In art, there's no difference between real and fake. Should there be in fine art photography? Text-to-image prompting requires very specific skills. If I just give Midjourney a prompt of a bear, this is what I get. But if I really want the image I want, I have to think about it and I have to use my imagination. And this is the image I wanted. A grizzly bear in a clearing, pine forest, in mountains, background, mountains in the background, autumn colors, full body, wide angle lens, side lit, golden hour. And I have weightings in there. That's the image I want. So if you want to get the image you want, you have to prompt properly. It's a learned skill. When you take pictures with a camera, you have creativity through composition. You can move your feet. You can stand in a different position. You can use a different focal length. You can do all kinds of things. But with generative AI, you have unlimited possibilities. You can create anything you want. With a camera, you have physical interaction. There's a satisfaction from just holding the camera and pressing that shutter button. With generative AI, you can do it anytime, anywhere. You don't care what the weather is. You don't need the equipment. All you need is a simple computer. With a camera, you create images that occur at a single point in time. Those images will never occur again, ever. With generative AI, you can iterate until you get the image you want. So the future, well, the future holds few things. The word photography comes from the Greek words photos and graph, light and drawing. Drawing with light. That's what we do as photographers. If photography is drawing with light, what's the difference between images created with a camera and text to image? Aren't we still drawing with light? We have to tell the image generator what kind of light we want, what kind of subject we want, where we want the light, what kind of depth of field we want. Text to image may not be considered photography today, but it will be tomorrow. It's going to replace some photographic needs, but it won't replace all. Just like sky replacement and clone tool generative fill will become an integral part of image editing. Tomorrow, we're going to be using a combination of camera-generated images, AI-generated, and augmented reality. Augmented reality is the biggest thing that we're going to see come down the pike, and it's going to change everything we do. Today, we have augmented reality in a lot of smartphones. It exists in most newer smartphones today. It's where you combine virtual elements augmented by a computer program along with reality. You can create 3D objects, text, and animations. It allows you to improve current images by adding previously unavailable filters and effects. And it's going to allow you to create completely interactive 360-degree photographs. So you can look at a subject from any angle after you've taken it. Google Bard can now critique images. I'm not going to go through all of this, but you can see what it liked about the image and some suggestions for improvements. For decades, we used computers for the simplest of things. You know, computers can only do a couple of things. They only can add, subtract, multiply, divide, and do logical operations. Who could have predicted in the 50s that we'd be using them for digital photography, image processing, streaming music and video, GPS positioning, internet, complex games? In 1960, nobody had any clue about these things. We're in the same period now with AI. What we can predict is we know photography will change. We don't know exactly how, but it is changing. You need to think about how you feel about AI in the arts and where you want to position yourself. The bottom line is we are at the precipice of the fourth industrial revolution. We don't know what's out there, but we know It's unknown. And it will change the way we do things. We just have to be able to adapt. Adaptation is everything. Annie Leibovitz said, AI is not going to replace photographers, but it is going to change the way we work. We need to embrace AI and use it to our advantage. You know, just like in the right around 2000, when digital cameras were first coming out, there were a ton of photographers I know because I taught them. I've always been involved in technology, so I adapted digital photography very quickly. But I ended up training a lot of film photographers, professionals, in digital because they had no clue. It was completely unknown to them. But the ones who didn't do that fell by the wayside. They're no longer photographers. You had to adapt or die. There was no two ways about it. We're in that same situation today. So that's it. That's my presentation. I guess I was pretty close to my hour and a half. There's an appendix, and in the appendix, I'm not going to go through all of this, but I just wanted to show you quickly. It has some of my information, contact information, some links. Interesting story about Midjourney. I should read this because it's fascinating. They only have 11 full-time employees and have never taken a dime in investment money. I asked chat bots what photography will look like in 2030, and this is sort of what they came up with. So that's it. Questions? There was a lot to absorb.
Fascinating. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
You're still up, Ian.
Sorry? I'm still
I'm
up,
not
yes.
as optimistic about the future as you are, Bert, but you know, your
No,
cousin.
I'm here. It's fascinating. Sorry, can I ask a couple of questions, please?
Well,
Thank you. What's going? I mean, everything you've talked about, I don't understand, but I guess we will do. But things like CCTV, which is going to that surely is the whole aspect of the law is going to be a huge amount of discussion about that. Have you got any thoughts on that?
Well, CCTV's been around for quite a while. What's going to change and what has changed is how it can recognize faces, facial recognition. And this is all has come about through generative AI. And, there's, I think we've taken it for granted now. The UK is certainly started well before the US did with CCTV. But we're getting in here too, and I think it's just going to become a fact of life. You know, the more we accept technology, the more we have to accept the invasiveness of technology. And we do that with our cell phones. Does anybody here not have a smartphone? And yet, that smartphone is the most invasive device you own.
Yeah. There's going to be a huge number of questions about the law and interpretation, isn't it? It's going to go on for years, forever.
Yeah, as I said, the justice system always lags technology by quite a bit.
Yeah, and the old adage that the camera never lies. That's just not.
Well, yeah, you can throw that out, can't you?
Yeah.
What are the current limits on using AI for photographs of politicians?
There are none. There are none. And, we learned that in the last election. There was a lot of fake pictures and videos, and we're getting more now. And it's just going to proliferate because it's easy to do. I have a longer version of this presentation, and in it, I show what voice cloning is. And voice cloning is probably the scariest thing of all. And I basically have a couple of phrases I say in somebody else's voice, somebody recognizable, a celebrity. And it absolutely sounds like the celebrity talking. And it took me all of 30 seconds to create that. People are creating, bad actors are creating phone messages for parents of their children saying, I'm in trouble, I need money. And what parent isn't going to respond to that? And it's in the child's voice. There's so many things going on. Photographs, videos, these are going to get, cloned. Legals, in the U.S., we have Congress talking about, AI laws, and they don't know where to start. And it doesn't matter where they start, because as soon as they come up with something, then something's going to bypass it. We just have to become smarter.
Do you think you can tell whether something's AI generated by looking at it?
There's been all kinds of attempts at this. Intel has a system right now that they're trying to do just that, and it's successful maybe 60% of the time. There's also a push from Adobe, and they actually have it, and I forget the name of it. If you look, you can look it up, Google it. I forget the name of but they actually put something into the image that is not editable. Okay, pixels that aren't editable. So you can actually create it, and somebody can actually look at the EXIF information and see, or something like the EXIF information, and see that it was edited with an AI tool. Okay, but you just display it on your screen, do a screenshot, and it's gone. So there are easy ways around these things. And not only that, but people have to, decide that they want to put that in. Bad actors won't do it. As I said, it's up to us to become smarter.
So what happens now with camera club competitions and stuff?
They're in for a rocky road.
Because how can they tell?
They can't. And, I'm active in 1x.com. I don't know if anybody ever goes out to 1x.com, but it's a community of photographers. And there's 500px is another one of these communities. And I'm not familiar with that. I'm familiar with 1x. And 1x has a disclaimer at the top of the page of their homepage that says that they won't tolerate using AI.
But how do they know?
They don't. And to test it, I submitted an image that had an AI component to it. And yeah, they didn't know. There's no way they're going to know. And I see other images out there that people have uploaded, and I look at it and I say, that's AI. Well, you can tell with some images only because hands, feet, text, remember those things? AI doesn't get it very good. Can't do it very well. So that image that Boris Egdelson, or whatever his name is, submitted to the Sony photography competition, clearly, when you look at that, you can tell it's AI because the hands are weird. They're not normal. They don't look right. So, for me, I could tell. But the judges weren't expecting it. They weren't looking for it.
So do they all have to change their rules now? The competitions?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're going, then most of the competitions right now say that you can't do it.
Right.
But
how do they know?
as you said, they can't tell. So if it's subtle, they're not going to know. Some images don't look right. If you do something on Stable Diffusion or DALL-E, they just don't look photorealistic. But Midjourney is very photorealistic, and it's really hard to tell. So will they change in the short term? Probably not. You guys belong to NECCC. NECCC has these obscure rules, as does the
PSA.
PSA nature rules. I hate them. You know, they should get rid of Hand of Man. And I think they did somewhat, didn't they? But in any event, you know, they have all these rules and they're incredibly restrictive. They're going to have to get rid of that, a lot of that. Because, you know, Hand of Man, if you take a nature picture and there's a lamppost in the background, anybody can clone that out. That's easy. So you can remove Hand of Man. And what have they accomplished by that rule? You know, so I don't know. And sometimes, listen, we have birds that live in the city, you know, with Hand of Man. So I don't get it, but I've never understood the arcane rules that some of these groups have. But in any event, it's going to be hard in the short term. They're probably not going to change. In the long term, they're going to have to change because, you know, is anybody on this call under, well, I do see somebody maybe under 50. You know, most of the clubs that I go to have people, you know, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. Okay. We have, you know, photographers are an older group. Why? Since 2010, camera sales have dropped 93%. Nobody uses kids don't use cameras today. They use a smartphone. And that's good enough. And they'll create whatever they want with text, with generative AI. So in the future, you know, it's going to be different.
So is there really going to be any need for a photographer?
Oh, absolutely. Photography is not going away. You still have event photographers. You still have current, you know, journalistic photography. You know, things like stock photography are going away. That's going to disappear. Things like headshot photography. I do that sometimes. I take on jobs for headshot photography. That's going away. Right now, you can take 3 or 4 pictures with your smartphone, 3 or 4 selfies with your smartphone, upload them to a website, and for $19.95, get back 4 really, truly professional headshot images. Who's going to want to do it? What photographer can compete with $19.95? So some things are going away, but some things aren't. And, you know, there's always going to be, look, we still have people taking pictures with film today. Anybody in a club taking film, shooting film?
Sometimes.
Yeah. And, you know, wasn't that long ago. I remember I went out with a guy, he was shooting with a 2 1/4 square. I don't remember which camera he was using, but it was a 2 1/4 square 120 film camera. We still have film photographers today. So will there be digital photographers in 2030? Sure. 2040? Probably.
Yeah. Pinhole photography, that's what you want.
What is it?
Pinhole photography.
Pinhole.
Pinhole.
Oh, pinhole. Yeah. Yeah, there's probably still pinhole photographers.
It's just after the camera obscura.
Yeah. Yeah. There are people probably still doing that.
Welcome.
You know, so I mean, you know, but it's considered I won't say ancient, but it's considered an old tradition. You know, what's the word? There's a better word than ancient.
Anachronism.
Yeah, whatever. But it's, you know, you're going to have people doing stuff forever. Doesn't matter what it is. But photography is changing. And, you know, getting used to using text to image, generative AI, really, number one, it's a lot of fun. You'll get a kick out of it. I guarantee you if you try it. And you'll be amazed at some of the images you can get. And, you know, I love combining them as some of the ones I showed you.
I bet. But sorry, just another question. I think certainly over at this side, there's been an awful lot of talk about integrity and it's up to the honesty of the individual photographer. And that's something which certainly in our club there's been an awful lot of talk about it. I don't know what it's like over in America at all.
Well, you know, the problem is, and I hate to say this because I don't like saying this, but what is integrity? Integrity is changing.
If you had integrity, you wouldn't submit the photo to begin with.
Well, that's correct.
Oh, how about to an AI photo contest?
Well, that's different.
And how about in contests, you know, pretty soon your club will be accepting AI images. When I say pretty soon, I don't know if it'll be this year or next year or the year after, but eventually you will, because that's going to
Then
become
it's
part of
okay,
the
but right now, if you submit one and you know it's not allowed and you win,
right.
doesn't that have integrity if you should have
Yeah.
said so?
Right. There are ethical considerations, you know, and, you know, over time, ethics change. You know, what's considered ethical for one generation, you know, a
Well,
couple generations later can change.
that probably shouldn't change all that much. You know, either you created that image yourself or it was created by the AI, you know, so that's.
Well, you know, in 1910, okay, a camera shot image was considered unethical.
Okay.
100 years
It's
later,
really no different. I was going to say it's really no different when you're submitting to these competitions and we submit photos. It's so easy to go do a snippet of someone else's picture and you can submit it as your own, and who's
Yeah.
going to know? So it's
Right.
really no different. You do have to have integrity if you're going to enter the competitions, and if you're in the competition, you have to accept that there's risk that somebody could be submitting photos that aren't their own. Somebody could be submitting photos that, you know, have used AI. It's like, if you're not willing to take that risk, then you just don't participate. That's the only thing you can do, because you can't control what other people are doing. And it's so easy to go snip somebody's picture and use it.
Yeah, it is. But, you know, again, ethics does change because, as I said, 100 years ago, camera images were considered unethical to the art community. It was just considered, you know, blasphemy. Today, you know, we're at that same point with AI.
Well, I think it's a little easier for us in that when we enter these competitions, there's a clear set of rules that you need to follow. And
Right.
if you have integrity, then you're going to follow those rules. And if you don't, you're not going to follow them. But we can't control that. So we do voting on our pictures, and we have to do the best we can to decipher it, I guess, but you're really not going to know. And you have to
Yeah.
give the maker, I think, the benefit of the doubt if you're not sure.
Yeah. So, you know, there's lots, as I said in the beginning, you know, you're going to leave here with lots of things to think about. You know, things are changing, and whether you like it or you don't like it, it doesn't mean you have to participate in it.
Right.
Even if your club decides they're going to take AI images, you can decide not to. You know, there's, as I said near the end of the presentation, I showed a slide that showed the difference between AI and traditional photography. And traditional photography has some really wonderful features about it that AI doesn't. I mean, when you go out to take a picture, you're outdoors or indoors. You're at a certain place. You're experiencing something. You're seeing something that's changing. The scene isn't static. It's a totally different experience creating that image with a camera than it is with AI. So there's a lot of benefit to shooting pictures with cameras. And I'm not going to stop. I mean, I'm a photographer. You know, I'm not a smartphone photographer. I do take smartphone images, but, you know, my main photography is done with a camera. And I'm not going to stop. I will continue to do AI because it's fun. I get to create lots of images when I do my presentations. It's wonderful for doing presentations if you're doing that, because you can create any image you want in your presentation to show anything you want. Before, you'd have to go out and either steal it off the web or get permission from someone. It was always awkward and difficult. Now it's easy.
Bert, is that your background is an AI image?
Yes. Yes, it's my turkey sitting at a Thanksgiving table. And there's actually whoops, I go the other way. There's actually a piece of turkey on his plate. But I wanted him to be looking over my shoulder. I actually created it with Midjourney, and the turkey was dead center. And I used generative expand in Photoshop to expand the right side of the image so that I could get him over on the left so he wouldn't be directly behind me. And then I used Topaz AI to upscale it.
Very good.
Looks good.
So, yeah, you can. I had a better one for Halloween. But it's, I'm telling you, if you get started with it, it's a lot of fun. And, you know, as a creative type, you're all creative types. As creative types, you're going to find some real interesting things to do with AI, generative AI.
I know you have to go with the flow, but it's kind of sad.
Yeah. Well, it is and it isn't, you know. I mean, you know, as I said, a lot of film photographers didn't want to go digital. You know, obviously, I'm going to guess all of you started off with film. And now you're shooting digital. So, you know, it's the transition wasn't necessarily easy, but in retrospect, it wasn't that hard.
Burnt stick on a cave wall.
We're at the same point now with AI. I know you guys have a meeting to get to.
Yes.
I can't believe you do a meeting after these talks. But I really appreciate you having me, Don. As I said, you should have that. You should have the text for me now.
I did get the
email.
email. Yeah,
Okay.
my power went out twice during this presentation, so unfortunately I missed some of it, but I got the PowerPoint, so I'll go, or the PDF, so I'll go through that. And I'm just updating my membership list with the latest emails, so that I'll send that out to the team.
Okay, and Laszlo
So
is
thank you very
recording it.
much.
He's recording it, so you can look at the recording at what you missed too.
Okay. Yeah, and send me the invoice and I'll forward it to our treasurer.
Will do. Thank
So
you
thank you
all.
very much.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Here. Happy
And if
days.
you have questions, feel free to contact me.
Thank
All
Great.
right, thanks, Bert.
Thank
Okay.
you.
All right, if everybody else could stay on just a couple minutes, I'll keep it short.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay.
Found.
So I only had a couple of things to go over. One is our next meeting in December was originally scheduled for the 12th, and we had some conflicts of some members that are key to having this party. So we reached out to Noble and inquired if we could change it to the 13th, which is Wednesday, the following night, and they agreed. So we are going to change the date of the party from the 12th to the 13th. And it will be on a Wednesday, be at Noble. We're going to have a theme for the party, and we've decided on a country western theme. So for those who want to dress up in a country western theme outfit, it's encouraged, and we'll have a little friendly competition and some awards for the top votes. But if you don't wish to participate in that, you're not required to. We're not going to kick you out if you don't have a cowboy hat. We are going to do it similar to last year, where the club will provide the main dish and we'll ask members to sign up for the potluck. So Heidi's going to prepare a spreadsheet and she'll send that out. So you're encouraged, if you want to come to the meeting, if you could take a look at that and sign up for to bring a dish. And then as usual, we usually have you bring your own drinks, and we have happy hour. So we'll do the 5 to 6 happy hour, and then the dinner, and then followed by the meeting. The meeting itself will be, Jeff's going to send some information out on that. It's basically almost like a show and tell. And we were thinking that since we're doing a country western theme, maybe the show and tell could be photos based on that theme as well. So it could be anything country, like farms or a true country western theme, but you know, it's flexible. I think it's going to be to 2 photos per member, but like I said, Jeff will send that out. But start thinking about that and looking through your photos and see if you have anything you want to share. We're going to have some raffles for gifts, and we'll have our typical 50-50, which usually for the holiday dinner is pretty good. So we'll do that. Heidi, do you have anything else that you want to say for that?
Not for that, John. I think that's a great summary. I do have a brief treasurer's report that'll take me 30 seconds when you're done.
Okay. All right. And then Laszlo already mentioned the newsletter topic of the month. It's abstract. So you can send him up to 3 photos. So I encourage you to do that. Last month was a great newsletter with a lot of participation from members and articles and photos. So see if we can keep that up this month, and help Laszlo out with that. And then the only other thing I had was for the NECCC. I don't know if you saw Bert's email. So the results came out. So this is the first year that we're in Class A. Last year we were in Class B, and because we came in first, which was nice, they bumped us up to a more difficult category level. So we didn't do so good. We came in last this time. So all I ask is that you, you know, if you participate in that competition, maybe go out and look at the New England Camera Club Council website, and you can look at some past winners for Class A in nature, and it'll just give you an idea of the competition we're up against, and to remember that when you're doing the voting as well. And I just let you know there's a newenglandcameraclub.org. That is not the correct website. So make sure you're getting to the correct one. I think it's NECCC.org, but you should recognize their logo. And I think that's all I had. So Heidi, you can do the treasurer's report, and then we can just open up, see if anybody has anything else.
Okay, 30-second treasurer's report. So at the last meeting, I reported that our total balance was $2,241.78. We collected $355 in membership dues since that meeting. So that brings our balance to $2,596.78. And just a reminder that $1,000 is restricted for scholarship. So we have $1,596.78. This is probably the highest balance that we'll have this year, because we use that now going forward for the Zoom presentations and parties and different events and things that we need. And I should mention there are 7 people who have not paid dues, and they need to pay by the next meeting. I have sent them reminders. They know who they are, and none of them are on this call. That's it.
Okay. Anybody have anything they want to bring up or ask? Laszlo?
Gonna be even shorter than Heidi's 30 seconds. You know, it's just only 10 seconds of begging for some pictures or articles for the next newsletter. That's
I
it.
already did that for you.
Okay.
You want to
Good.
put your own plug in there, huh?
Well,
right.
that
Anybody
is
got
about
any?
the aspects. Karen, it's so nice to see you. I just want to say, in case you people didn't know, Karen had some health problems lately, but she's here, she's back, and she's looking good.
Yes,
Thank
I
you.
agree. Nice to see you.
Thank you.
We could say the same for you, Laszlo. With
Oh, well, thank you.
you were missing in action last month, and greatly missed.
Thank you.
So, all right. Anything else?
Nothing on my side.
No.
No.
Okay. I know it's late. It's 9 o'clock, so I'll let everybody go, and I look forward to seeing you at our next meeting in your country and western wear. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Happy
Bye,
Thanksgiving.
everyone. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.